Gents, we're rolling. Welcome.
Thanks for having us, mate.
Good to have you both. I'm looking behind you boys and I can see Chamberlain Brown. And at the time when I set up my former BA business, it was two surnames, and I know we'll kind of try and go first. Was it an easy one for you guys to work out that Chamberlain was going first?
Absolutely. It sounds better than Brown Chamberlain, in my opinion. So, yeah, otherwise we'd be like a confusing colour, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I was just reading it. It seems you're right. Like I didn't Brown Chamberlain. Yeah, Chamberlain Brown rolls better. So that was an easy one for you guys, hey?
Definitely. Yeah, for sure.
Take me back, guys. Like when you first got together and decided you wanted to get into Bizzo together, like were you at a cafe? Did it start really with a phone call? Like just run me through, like if you guys can recall when you first really ideated this new business.
So it's a really good question. I think, to be honest, it happened all really quickly, like very, very quickly. So, you know, we moved on from previous things and decided, you know what, let's give this thing a crack. Both having been in the industry before, I think coming together and saying, you know what, we've both got strengths and weaknesses. We both want to build a business that we're very proud of. And, you know, 6 months down the track, I don't know about you, but I must admit I feel like we've achieved that goal and some so far. But mate, to answer your question, it happened very quickly.
Yeah, it's good. And obviously you guys had synergy and shared the same values, and it flows, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, absolutely. I think like speaking of values, like that's probably one of the big things that brought us together. You know, values are in anything in your life or in business. You want to make sure that the values that you have are aligned to the business you're working for or the business that you're creating and the people that you're employing as well. So it's a very big part of our kind of the start of our business for sure.
Starting a business is not easy. Like it's fucking hard. And I'm sure you guys we can, open up this chat now. It's not for the faint-hearted. That's why I think most people are employees and not business owners, and so many small businesses do fail. What have you guys learned along that journey that you feel is worth sharing, that maybe you thought that, hey, I wouldn't go through this? And it could be like vulnerability, it could be fear, it could be a specific case study or example of something, but I'd be curious just to understand from one of you or both of you around like, what have you found really challenging?
Here we go. No, you go. Mate, I think we were just speaking off air beforehand, how when you're an employee or when you're working for someone else, there's so many things that you don't realize have to happen in the background for a business to run, like doing pay runs and like making sure there's enough money in the account to pay the bills. All that kind of stuff is, has been a first to both of us. Huge learnings in the last 6 months. I'm sure there's a hell of a lot more, but I think the biggest challenge for us was looking at a P&L and going, okay, well, the top line needs to be more every single month, and we need to make sure that there's no minus at the end of the the bottom line.
Are you taking lead with that, Chamber? Because you're an accountant before, so I'm sure you're bean counting, aren't you?
I am, mate. I am. I must admit that. I do love the numbers. I love a good spreadsheet.
And it's healthy. You guys, we were talking about this offline before. You guys have, I think, got a really cool backdrop. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but Matt, you obviously corporate as an accountant. Darcy, you came from the mining industry. There's actually a lot of mining people I'm finding in the BA space who really have a passion for property. They are making, from what I understand, really good fucking money. And I think just got sick of the manual labor that they were doing. But it seems like you guys bring different skill sets to the table, right? Like how do those skill sets complement each other in Chamberlain Brown?
Well, obviously Matt coming, from accounting, extremely analytical, does really well with the investor clients. Me, myself personally, I just love the relationships that we built with our clients and the relationships that we've built and established with the real estate agents out there in the Newcastle market space as well. So for me personally, that's been the biggest part and the biggest driver. And we achieved really good results, obviously within a 6 to 8 week time period. And, within that 2 months, we were able to establish really good connections and relationships with our clients.
Seems like it. I mean, you guys have been going for 6 months. I looked at some notes before, obviously, we got together today, and I mean, you guys are flying after 6 months. So, like, did you guys, I mean, I know I was saying earlier that starting the business is it for the faint-hearted? And I could tell that maybe you guys, it hasn't been so challenging. I got the feeling it hasn't been that super challenging for you guys. And that's okay. I mean, I think you guys will go through the entrepreneur speed humps like everyone does at different phases throughout the evolution of the life cycle of the business. But did you guys expect like things to move so quick in 6 months, or did you guys have any expectations?
To be honest, obviously there was an element of fear, if I could speak on behalf of, sorry, Matt. There was obviously that element of fear, but we both got very extremely supportive wives at home. So our support base at home was really, really important, and that's been a big big help with us personally. But I'm quite shocked at how far we've come in 6 months. Yeah, look, leading on from that, I think coming back to the businesses, the numbers and that, we set, super conservative goals. I think the goal is to still be around in a year, knowing all those stats that everyone throws at you. In 6 months, I mean, we've probably 2, 3, 4 times the outcomes we thought, and the place we thought we'd be. And you kind of reflect on it and you go, wow, like everyone always says you tend to overestimate what you can do in a day or a week and underestimate what you can do in a year. And honestly, the last 6 months ago, it feels like it was about 3 years ago, the amount of stuff we've packed into the last 6 months. But it's all been worth it. Like the results are showing that, we're just talking the other day about starting to grow the team because there's, just not enough hours in the day for the two of us. So to be able to kind of be having that conversation only 6 months after, you open the doors to the world, it's a pretty special feeling.
You boys have still got a good set of hair on your head since I last saw you. So obviously things aren't that bad yet. You haven't got big bags that I can see under the eyes. But I want to talk to a few points. So Darcy was saying around the support network of both your wives, I think that's amazing. I mean, I could only imagine how challenging it is. I work with some people whose other half aren't very supportive, and it makes it very, very difficult. So I think you guys are really lucky with that. So well done. And obviously, I'm sure you recognise your other halves for that, because that usually can crush people as well when they're self-doubting. Then they've got the other half who's not supportive. And I think that's cool what you said, Matt, about that goal, like around the stat of just being around in 1 year. Like, it's true, right? Like some of those stats, they are pretty confronting. And you said the word fear, Darcy. I think like if you're not fearful as an entrepreneur getting into this space, like something is wrong. Like I would say like you're doing something wrong. And there was some stats that I was looking at on a documentary about billionaires, and it was very common amongst them. What was driving them was their fear of failure. They just all kept thinking they were constantly going to keep failing, and they keep doing that. And I think that's what also drives results. But obviously the fact you guys are looking to hire now, like you said, Matt, towards the end, obviously your numbers are looking good. You said you're 3x to 4x what you expected in terms of what your goal was. Surely you guys walked into this knowing that, hey, we've got good relationships with the real estate agents where we know how to service our clients. But more importantly, let's talk about systems and processes, because I know you guys are passionate about that. I know it's something you guys feel differentiates you guys from other BAs, because let's be honest, like most buyers agents, and I've been a buyer's agent, I've run a business, we do the same things. We source property for clients, we bid if it's required, we negotiate, we do certain things. But I also, and everyone says they provide the best service, right? Everyone says that. But let's hear about it. And I want to hear about, your systems and processes, like that client experience. Like, where do you guys feel like you separate from the pack?
I think we kind of started this business, even though I say our short-term goal was to keep our head above water in a year, we also had some really long-term goals that, if we're around in a year, we want to be around in 20 years. And we're both, we haven't been on the sell side in real estate. We came straight into buyer's agency. It both probably have a bit of a different flavour, let's say, to the way we work than your typical buyer's agent. When I say typical buyer's agent, I mean probably the ones that are making the most noise in the industry and very overt. So we thought, okay, well, how can we build a business that's sustainable? And it was very clear that we had to build a business that wasn't about us. It's not about the Matt Chamberlain, the face of Matt Chamberlain. It's not about the face of Darcy Brown. It's about the bigger brand and the confidence that the brand gives or puts out to the market. So we wanted to build these systems and processes to say, okay, well, it doesn't matter who you work with within the business. You will get exactly the same service as the person next to you, and that service will be the highest quality. So that's where we came at, where we're coming from with building all these systems. Because look, at the end of the day, I think everyone's got this goal to be able to scale and build a business that's bigger than themselves, and that's no different from us. So that's where the systems and the processes started. And wow, how long have we got this podcast for? I can tell you you're off all day about it.
Only 3 days we've got live, so is that okay?
We'll see how we can go. I'll try and fill it.
I will jump in there, Ben. The thing about our systems and processes as well, where we came from when we started the business was to build a system and systems and processes that also work in with our work-life balance as well. So we've effectively built a business where we can, to manage 10 clients realistically is no different to managing 2 or 3 clients. It's actually the same output with how we've structured our business.
Yeah, it's a huge point. Like, for instance, a typical buyer's agent, part of their role is sourcing property. And some buyer's agents would go, okay, I need to source property for this client, and then I'll spend an hour sourcing property for this client, and then I'll spend an hour sourcing property for this client. The way we had looked at it is, okay, saying, well, why don't we source all the property we possibly can in our local market, and then we can apply that to the clients we have on the books at any given time. And what that does is it creates a defined time frame that we need to allocate to sourcing property, and it isn't controlled by the number of clients we work for. And now you'd be thinking, well, why would you source the whole marketplace for one client? And that's a good question. So we thought, okay, well, how can we source the whole marketplace in the shortest amount of time possible? And that's where those systems came in. And yeah, we do have some processes in place where we essentially, for us to source property in our local market, it takes a defined amount of time, and that is generally done by one person. So whether we have 4 or 5 or 6 or 50 buyers agents, one person is sourcing for all of our clients during the week, and that allows us to scale with the number of clients we've got, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, from what I'm hearing, it seems like there's a lot of benefits internally, externally. Internally is like hire staff that are working within the group. Externally is obviously the clients that you're servicing. It seems like it allows you guys to take on a lot of clients and deliver like still a first class service. And then externally for the client, like they're just getting, it seems like they know that they're getting potentially access to like all properties that are available in the marketplace, which is pretty cool, because I think that like when you are a buyer's agent business and you start getting multiple clients, some clients, unfortunately, sometimes the ball might get dropped in terms of what they're getting access to.
Absolutely. Yeah. And look, even to kind of take it one step further, we then collate all of the off-market properties that we've identified. So instead of asking a real estate agent, hey, we're looking for a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom, 1-car space in X suburb, instead we say every week, hey, why don't we just have a very open conversation? We'll let you know what briefs we've got, and you let us know what properties you've got coming up or sitting off market. Now they share that whole list with us. We then collate it on a database, and then we basically have traction of that, right? Now, and it's obviously up to the real estate agent and the relationship you have with that agent to be able to have that conversation and get that information. That's a huge part of the process that it's not taking away from the fact that that's based on, say, 3-4 years worth of relationship building with that one agent. But when you have that relationship and you get that list, as long as you can collate that, then you can use that for the client you have today, and you can also use that for the client that you onboard in 2 weeks' time. You have all of that tracked and managed.
I like it. Yeah, it seems like you guys are building up a data center of especially of stock that you can, use for existing clients and future clients. That's cool. So, is there like a certain level of steps that you guys have within, your, whatever you want to, let's call it, this system that you guys have that you kind of take a client through from when they join?
If there is, it'd be in the hundreds, I reckon. There's that many steps, but they're each so small that it would take only a couple of seconds to do at any point in time. I think I'd imagine that, we use a CRM called Zoho. I'm sure a lot of the people that work with you know that CRM. But we basically got that CRM out of the box and then went into the back end. I'm not an IT geek by any stretch of the imagination. I just understood how I could structure the CRM. So now there's so much automation that goes into our client journey. Those steps that we were talking about, it's all automated. So we might move a client from sourcing property to inspecting property in as a trigger point for them moving closer to a property. And that automation sets off a chain reaction of 10, 15, 20 tasks that need to happen for that client to get that high level of service. So it's no longer in the buyer's agent's head. And when they've got 10 clients, I know from my experience, having a significant amount of clients at any one time, you just get so anxious in your head because you're carrying so much baggage and so much information that you need to kind of keep hold of for your clients. We've basically just trained Zoho to do all of that for us. So we can close the door of the office at any hour of the day. I mean, I'm leaving early this afternoon, and I know that I don't have to carry anything with me over the weekend because everything will be where it needs to be. It reminds me on Monday morning when I get back in the office.
I love it. That's the purpose of the CRM. So I'm glad you guys have really optimized it. It seems like you put a lot of thought into it, and I think it seems like you've really nailed that QA, that quality assurance, the customer success. You've really put a lot of emphasis into making sure the client is best serviced and not neglected. So I think it's amazing that in such an early infant stage of a business, you guys have put so much effort and thought process into that. Because most people start to kind of, and I'm generalizing here, but from what I see, most people start to don't put that in at the beginning. It more goes in once the business is a bit mature and the wheels start falling off because of the growth. They start, oh my God, we need to tighten everything up. So good on you guys. That's fantastic. So you guys are focusing, from what I understand, on the local Newey market. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
And you're doing both. You're doing resi. Is that just resi only? Is that correct?
No, we do commercial as well.
Okay.
Bit more of a niche, of course. There's not as many commercial buyers in the marketplace just generally, but certainly part of the business. Absolutely.
That's fantastic. Okay, so you're doing commercial, you're doing resi, and you guys are doing obviously owner rock and IP.
Yeah, I'd say in our resi side, we're probably, at the moment, probably 50-50 split. But we're really actually making waves in a bit more of the prestige end of the market in Newcastle, specifically for the owner occupiers, which has certainly contributed to the success lately. But definitely an area of, obviously every buyer's agent kind of wants to focus on the premium areas as well.
I'm not familiar. I mean, I drove through Newcastle 6 months ago. I haven't been there in a long time, and it's changed a lot, in a really good way. I was super impressed. Just how just regentrified it's become. What's the prestige market there look like? What price point range would you say is quite common for prestige in Newey?
I'll give you a bit of a range. So there's 1, 2, 3, probably 4 properties on the market at the moment that are circling around that 10 to 12 million.
Wow.
They're obviously the top end of the market. But there's one in particular, which is a side-by-side block on one of the most premier streets in Newcastle that combined they're asking for about 24, I think it was. So that certainly would be the biggest sale in Newcastle ever. But if we were talking prestige, I think you could comfortably be sitting somewhere between that 2 to 5.
Okay. Nice. And so it's great to see you guys already playing in the space and getting market share. Because I can see very soon like a Chamberlain Brown prestige division just coming to life soon.
Mate, once I stumbled across a Instagram page the other day, Prestige Property Australia or something.
Okay. Who was that?
Oh, it's a an Instagram. They I think they sponsor like real estate agents selling prestige property in Australia. I thought I've actually seen finance agents on there, believe it or not. But mate, that certainly wouldn't be us. I think we're more than happy to hang around in the shadows and let the brand do the talking.
Yeah. And I like what you said earlier, just around, you want to be around for 20 years and you guys want to build from what I'm hearing, like a very reputable brand, and you want to be known for the quality that you guys provide. What's it like in the Newcastle market, like dealing with real estate agents? I mean, are they receptive to buyers agents? Is it a relatively new thing there? Like, do you want to give me a bit of a snapshot on that?
I think over the last 12 to 18 months, it's been a lot better. I've been doing this now for 3 years in Newcastle, and first 18 months was pretty tough. But now it's become a lot more common, and there's a lot more agents out there that are more than willing to deal with buyers agents. So I think initially it was just an education thing, and lack of education, really, about BAs.
And just to add to that, I think it's also a teething time, I guess, with any real estate agent when they haven't necessarily been exposed to buyers agents up until that they are. I know it's very prominent in Sydney and Melbourne, but Newcastle up until a couple of years ago, like it certainly wasn't a common occurrence for a real estate agent to come across a buyer's agent. So we'd kind of had to face that challenge in itself as well.
Yeah, it is challenging. I mean, I remember opening up offices, like even in Brisbane, I remember when we did that, like it was very foreign there. Like the agents didn't really like it to begin with. They thought we were stealing their buyers and didn't understand the concept and didn't see why people would pay money to, they just didn't understand it or get it or appreciate it for whatever reason. That's cool. And so, I know what it's like. Sometimes it is an uphill battle, and then they start to understand and realize, they work for the vendor, they get paid by the vendor, and starts to drop for some of them. But it's good to see. It seems like, from what I'm hearing, it started to open up for you guys in Newcastle, and you've obviously been there from seems like from the beginning. And so hopefully they'll respect that and recognize that, right?
Yeah, it's definitely helped us, I think, being some of the, I know it sounds like a bit of a strange word, but that pioneer of buyers agency in Newcastle, like there certainly was activity before our time, but it's become so much more prominent, I think, with a big wave over the last couple of years.
That's fantastic. So let's talk about team expansion briefly. So are you guys looking to grow the team to support you two with your operation, with what you guys respectively do in Newey? Are you looking to get buyers agents to tackle like different areas that you guys are not looking at? Or are you looking to maybe grow the team to focus outside of Newcastle? Like, do you want to run me through, really, if you do have anything to share on that, what it looks like?
Yeah, sure. I think for us, just the conversation we had the other day, it's kind of, we've got quite a number of options. The biggest challenge we're facing at the moment is the work we need, or is the hole we need filled something that we need a skilled team member to do, or is it something that is more of we can start passing some administrative stuff across? And defining that, I think, is the first step. But, for instance, if it was admin, we could look at, we have talked about hiring onshore. We've talked about hiring offshore as well, and getting kind of that admin support. But then if we're looking for experienced support, I think it's natural. In fact, we've actually been asked by a few real estate agents whether or not we'd open up a position for them to move across from sales. So but that's very kind of, it makes you feel good that if a real estate agent who's operating on the opposite side of the transaction wants to, is asking you for a job, like you must be doing something right, or at least doing the right thing by them. So coming back to your question, if the team grows, I think we're leaning towards an admin to start to give us that support we need to continue being as effective as possible ourselves. But naturally, over time, it's going to be expanding the localized team until we get to a point where we say, okay, well, and a big thing for us is we don't necessarily work with two clients at the same time that have a very similar brief, because then there's a point to be said around whether or not you can act in that both clients' best interests, especially if there's a bit, if they both like the same property. So there's always going to be a limit to being able to service a specific area. So if and when that time comes, there's no doubt that there's a few ideas on the horizon to expand locations and basically repeat the same thing.
Beautiful. I love it. Before we finish up, if you would kind of look forward in 5 years' time, do you see more real estate agents, whether they join your firm or not? Do you see more real estate agents becoming buyer's agents within the Newcastle region?
I think I do. Yeah, there's been a couple of conversations like that very recently where I do think the transition for a few agents in particular will potentially happen within the next 5 years.
Unreal. Okay. Gents, we're going to finish up. I'm stoked that you guys are in business together. You're running a good operation. You've outperformed your expectations. You're looking to grow your team. You're niching into the Newcastle market. You've got supportive partners. You're loving it. You're growing. I'm really happy for you guys. And I know how committed you both are. Like, I know you offline, and you care a lot about clients. You care a lot about property. You care a lot about building a business that holds good value. So I love it. I just want you also to share, where can, for the audience purposes, where can they find you guys or learn more?
Best place to find us would be just a URL, like our website, and that's chamberlainbrown.com.au. You can also find us on Instagram at Chamberlain Brown Property as well.
Super. Good to chat, boys. And hopefully I'll be passing by Newey at the end of the month, so I'll stop in.
Cheers, mate.
No worries. Thanks, Benny.